Somehow somebody is still listening to the song. Where's that coming from? It's like somebody has something up somewhere where it's playing, because that ain't me. Where's that coming from? I don't know.
I think Bailey just has it on repeat.
Let's see. Let's mute Bailey. Bailey's muted with Bailey.
What are you doing over there, Tim?
That ain't me. Where's that coming from? So, okay, it's not her.
I think Bailey just has it on repeat.
Let's see. Let's mute Bailey. It's Kate. Kate, it's you. We found it somehow. It's you. I don't know where it's coming through, but we knew you. And I can no longer hear the music or myself speaking, so I don't know what happened. It's Kate. See? Somehow it's you. I don't know where it's coming. You have it up somewhere. I'm guessing that there's a tab open somewhere, like YouTube or Facebook or something's open, which is amazing. What an incredible way to start the night.
And she's on mute, so she can't even defend herself.
How about now? Or something's open, which is amazing. Nope, still hear myself.
She's on mute, so she can't even defend herself.
All right, so let's see. Kate, is there anything in particular that might be open anywhere, like a tab or anything? I don't know why it's coming through twice. Because you got a serious delay from us. It's like 10 seconds.
I mean, where are you? It might take a while for the electrons to get to like California. Are you like over there in one of those other states?
Wow. 10 seconds.
I mean, where are you? It might take a while for the electrons to get to like California. Are you like over there?
Will it go on a continuous loop forever? Is the question.
I know. I'm on this loop.
Where are you? It might take a while for the electrons.
Okay. So we don't sit here and laugh about it all night. We're already 5 minutes in. Kate, would you like to reload your computer, and then we'll go from there and see what happens? What do you think? Like to reload your computer, and then we'll go from there and see what happens. Okay, we'll see you in a moment.
I think she's like recasting this show like in Europe or Australia and making some money off of it. Rod, you better get on that.
Yeah, see, right now I know.
Yep.
Well, that was not what we were expecting, everybody, but how's it going? Good to see everyone tonight. I love this because Darsh just hopped in and he said, hi, Newton, Ron, Bailey, and Kate. Reminds me of Yuri's Night 2021.
Hey, Darsh.
It's good to see you, Darsh. How you doing, man? We got some awesome people already saying hello. What's up? Darsh is also on YouTube saying, go Space Fam. Jackie saying, what's up? Monica Parks. Woohoo! I love woohoo. That's always make me happy. Amber apparently put some kind of GIF or emoji or something up that we can't see. So that's awesome. And of course, the amazing Lee Wilson says hello. Hello and good evening to everybody. So we're having a bit of technical difficulties with one of our guests. She'll be back. And the other person that was supposed to be on tonight, I believe, is on just a boat and is having some difficulties. So we'll be back with them here in a minute. But let's start out with our first guest tonight, Bailey. We're going to go to you. Bailey Burns, tell us a little bit about you, what you do, where you work, all the stuff and things, how you fell in love with space.
Yeah, that's a pretty long story, so I don't know how much time we have here. But I am an engineer. I'm a systems engineer at Paragon.
We're missing 2 guests, and it's a 2-hour show.
We have plenty of time.
You go as long as you want
to. Keep going.
You do you, buddy. You do you.
But yeah, so I'm an aerospace systems engineer. I work at a company called Paragon Space Development Corporation, and we do life support for spacecrafts, spacesuits, basically trying to keep humans alive in space for as long as possible, I guess. So it's a lot of oxygen, CO2. We do a lot with water, like all that like urine to water kind of stuff. We have that kind of stuff going on. And I'm a systems engineer, so I focus on how we get that to all work together, specifically with human factors and mission operations. So that's kind of my big day job. I'm a grad student. I'm hopefully graduating in a few weeks here with a master's in space resources. I met Ron through just social media outreach and stuff like that. So I do a lot of science communication. I am an analog astronaut. So I did high seas for 2 weeks last week. It's a lot of space stuff. Oh, I'm a Rubik's Cube ambassador doing STEM with that. Basically anything fun about space, I'm all in. I enjoy just making it fun and making it accessible to everyone. So that's what I'm here to do tonight.
Love it. And Guest number 2 of hopefully we hope for is Newton Campbell. I love Newton because so quietly I am one of Newton's biggest fans. Like I talk to him about stuff all the time, but he and I love the same nerd stuff, not just space. So every time there's a video game that comes out, or there's a Marvel movie or a show that comes out, or there's some sort of political commentary, we pretty much agree on everything. So I'm always like, I agree with you completely about the person I'm not going to mention on this show, but everybody knows who I'm talking about if they've ever looked at my Facebook page before. So yeah, we always have really great conversations when we get the chance. So Newton, tell everybody about you, what you do, how you got the space industry, all that fun stuff.
Hey, Rod. Yeah, no, thank you very much. And yes, I very much enjoy chatting with you on social media. And Bailey, I love your STEM videos, particularly with the Rubik's Cube. I'm a giant STEM nerd. By day, I'm a scientist. Oh, Kate's back. Hey, Kate. But by day, I'm a scientist.
And she's unmuted, and there's nothing playing in the background, so that's good.
That's amazing. But so by day, I'm a scientist working out of both NASA Goddard and NASA Langley for through SAIC. Basically, I'm an artificial intelligence subject matter expert. I help the agency with artificial intelligence on a number of different projects, from space radiation, so figuring out how do we take all that we understand about how radiation affects us here on Earth, extrapolate that out to the longer term missions on Mars and the moon and so on, to stuff that we do here on Earth, like intelligent flight. So a lot of times people forget that the first A in NASA stands for aeronautics. So we're looking at the future of aircraft flight, the future of aeronautics, particularly urban air mobility, having people fly in 1 to 2 person vehicles that are autonomous, having those vehicles fly you across the city, a country, et cetera, et cetera. So looking at projects like that, and just projects around the agency, wherever I can help out. I've done things from astrophysics all the way to looking at coral underneath oceans using our satellites. Aside from all of that, I do quite enjoy STEM outreach and education. That's one of my big things. I have an organization where we focus on that with respect to policy and artificial intelligence. As you may know, our policymakers aren't necessarily the best with understanding artificial intelligence, so we're trying to incubate and grow future policymakers through STEM education and help them understand technology as they're coming up and trying to create policies regarding those things. Doing DC school visits, I visit DC schools. I help teachers with curriculum, stuff like that. So I'm just kind of a little all over the place when it comes to STEM, but STEM is where a lot of my passion lies. But I also love doing the research and the sciences as well. So yeah, it's great. It's absolutely fantastic to be here. I'm a fan of the show. I'm happy that Ron Show has made it this far, and yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing where it goes.
Well, thanks for the belief in that. I'm glad that Ron's show's made it this far. I expected you to fail, Ron. So congratulations.
Yeah. I mean, when I first saw it,
I
was just like, wow. Well, we'll see how that goes.
Oh,
it's going well.
So let's go to Kate then.
Yes,
Newton. Oh man! Oh, I can't. I'm gonna go see every Marvel movie before you and tell you every end sequence, every one. I want to tell you the ending and the tomb stingers, both of them. But yes, it is. I used to work in theater. I'll find somebody. No, anyway. Kate, let's go to you next. Let everybody know about yourself, what you do, because you have an interesting history. Literal Disney princess.
Yeah,
literally Disney.
Yeah, I worked at Universal Studios in Japan for a few years, and I played a lot of different characters. Yeah, so I got to be Princess Fiona for a while, and I was Marilyn Monroe for a while as well. But I could never figure that one out because I always felt
two very opposite people. As
I looked like Marilyn Monroe's cousin, her distant cousin, Mediterranean cousin. So I always enjoyed doing that because it was a really fun character to play that was very outside of myself in many ways. And I did a lot of things, I roller skated in Hello Kitty show, and it was a really fun 3 years. So I did that, and then I was in the commercial world for a while. I was a union actor for commercial work out in LA, and I did a lot of hand modeling. and odds are you've seen my hands on TV at some point. So I did that for a year. It's my moneymakers, right? And so I've had like a lot of odd jobs. And then when I had my son, I always wanted to be a scientist, and I just never got to do it. And I was like, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it now. So I went back to school. I got a bachelor's degree in biology, and I graduated back in 2019. So it was very untraditional, but ever since then I've been pursuing like a science-based career and trying to combine like my artistic side to that science side. So I've done a lot of photography, I've done a lot of writing. I really like the sci-comm aspect of everything, and one of my goals is to kind of connect that science aspect to like that arts aspect to kind of like get into a bigger audience. So that's what I'm doing now. And I really enjoy your show, Ron. And I really enjoy meeting everyone and like seeing all of their different backgrounds and everything they're passionate about and everything that brings them together here. So yeah, a little bit about me.
Absolutely love it. Rod, you're on the show, Master of the Universe.
Hi there.
Tell us who you are, what you do. You came in at the perfect timing, mister. I had to make an entrance. He's like, I'm here.
The guy that's genitally late because he misplaces his scheduler. Hi. I'm here because I'm a writer who discovered that the fastest way to move from a 6-figure income to a 5-figure one was to start writing space books. So I've been doing that for about 15 years. And I edit this magazine at Astrospace magazine. This is the last issue. We have one that just came out that's a whopping 100 pages with only 8 pages of ad, best value there is. And yeah, and I'm a media clown, so happy to be here.
Well, we're happy to have you on, Rod. It might have been a little bit like to the second. You couldn't have been on any sooner, really. I mean,
sorry, guys. I apologize. I thought I need to. Oh God,
that was a thing that we had.
Yes, I know. So
well,
hey, so
yeah.
So what have I missed? What have you talked about so far?
What we've done is intros for everybody. So
Okay.
Bailey, give 5 seconds of you. Newton, 5 seconds of you. Kate, 5 seconds of you. Just name, job.
Got it. So go ahead.
Oh, I was going to go. Are we going to go? You can go first.
Bailey, he knows who I am. We've already done
Okay.
Bailey, you're up.
Okay. Bailey Burns, systems engineer, space nerd, science communicator. And I have your book, and I'm super excited about it. Okay.
Here, wait, I'm going to sign it right now. Okay.
Newton, 5 seconds, go.
Newton Campbell, space worker, sometimes works at NASA, mostly works at NASA. STEM advocate, STEM outreach advocate, and just general space advocate.
Kate Baum. For some reason, every time I say Kate Baum, I just want to mic drop.
Woo! Kate. My name is Kate Morgan. I'm a science communicator. I'm a photographer, and I'm really happy to be here. So nice to meet you, Rod.
Boom. There we go. All caught up. So I'm happy to have everybody on tonight. It's just a completely random thing. I didn't really come up with any topics, but obviously we had a pretty cool one that happened. You know what? Just a little bit ago is what it feels like. Everything's moved so quickly since then because I didn't sleep on Thursday night, so that way I could get all the stuff done. Because Thursday night was not only Crew 2, it was Mortal Kombat, which fatalities were awesome movies, but fatalities were amazing, and I've waited for that since I was like 10, so that was cool. And then we had the Falcon and the Winter Soldier finale, which was awesome. So I didn't sleep a whole lot, so slept all night last night from like 7 to like 10 this morning. Haven't done a whole lot since the launch. So everybody else, let's see. Completely random Saturday. I love that. Jeff, this is going to be the tone.
Are we missing something here? Maybe like, what do you think? Oxygen on Mars?
Yeah, did something happen this week? I have no idea.
There's oxygen creation on Mars, plus Ingenuity's not 1 but 2 flights. So there's so much happening. Where do we want to start? Do we want to just flip a coin on which cool thing happened? Let's just start at the beginning of the week, Monday.
Yeah.
Monday, Ingenuity flight, powered flight on another planet, which somebody, Air and Space Mag, has pointed out was not the first powered flight on another planet. It was actually Venus, and the Russians did it, and we just looked over that. But let's go over.
Yep. First rotor-powered flight. Yeah.
I think so, yes. Yeah. So I guess that was it. Well, and I guess there was, I don't know. I didn't get a chance to read it. I was just like, oh, there's somebody throwing that out there. It's Air and Space Mag, so they generally know what they're talking about.
He's absolutely right. It's the first rotor-powered flight, right? Because flight is just defined as you using, the air or gas on a planet for lift, right? And we've done that plenty of times. But this is, yes, the first. We're taking off on another planet using rotors and actually propelling ourselves up. So yes, not to take anything away from that.
And I would argue that Venera did a bit of retro propulsion, but that's not the same thing. You know, it didn't lift itself; it just didn't fall as fast.
Exactly.
Now they did though. Did the Soviets do a? They did a Mars balloon, right? Or a Venus balloon,
an
atmospheric drifter.
I don't think they did a Venus balloon.
Not but I think the Soviets did.
You're right. I don't necessarily know if it was a balloon. They got down to the surface pretty hard. Yeah. I think they just it's the art of flying. It's the art of falling slowly. Right? That's what flying is. Right? Like it's
welcome to gravity.
Welcome to gravity.
Welcome to gravity in a really horrible. I mean, talk about the trailer park of the solar system. You know, I mean, it is just. I was talking to Steve Jurvetson a couple of years ago. Well, it was actually for Space 2.0. I was interviewing him, and he's the.
You have to tell us who that is. Not everybody knows who that is.
I know. He's the billionaire investor who saved SpaceX in 2009. He invested heavily and kind of helped create Hotmail. I mean, he's a very wealthy guy, a very brilliant guy. You sit down and interview him, and it just kind of sucks all the air out of the room. It's like, wow, this guy is making me feel like my Labrador when he's around me. But
did you say Hotmail? And just the way that you said it just had a tone to it that was not expected.
I still have a hot.
Did anybody else hear this? Like it was it was Hotmail. I'm like, oh, is that the website?
I think wasn't there some kind of I never used it, but wasn't there some kind of like singles mingle aspect to it or something? It had some kind of weird.
I don't think so.
It wasn't AOL, you know. Anyway. Anyway, so Steve and I are talking.
It wasn't my experience.
And
it's gonna be a great show.
He's talking about what a dump Venus is, and I said, yeah, it's kind of the trailer park of the solar system. And he said, oh, that's good. And then I said, well, what would you use Venus for as a very savvy, forward-looking space investor? And he said, if I was ever going to experiment with like toxic nanotechnology, Venus is the place for it. So that's just where we'll dump all our nasty civilization-ending experience. And I thought, well, that's kind of cool, actually, because otherwise, unless you're living in the clouds and big balloon things, which seems kind of dicey, what are you going to use it for?
It looks cool, but that's about it.
From here,
like it looks cool in like Cosmos whenever you see the giant ships. I mean, I guess just to say you did it. Like, well, you lived on Mars where it was super easy, and you didn't have to live in a balloon for 15 years with the same people breathing the same. Anything could go. There's so many things that could go wrong with that. That's just next level. So somehow we got onto Venus from Mars. So let's shift that back over. Bailey, Kate, I want to hear about it. Like, how excited were you about it? Was this something you were really looking for? Is there a part of Perseverance that maybe you were a little bit more excited about? Obviously, we had Moxie this week, too. Which one? Are you weighing it still? Bailey, go to you first.
Well, I think I was excited about Ingenuity just because that's super dope. I don't know if there's a more scientifical term for that, but that's a cool thing to do on another planet. But I'm really excited for Moxie. So my master's degree is going to be in space resources or in situ resource utilization, which is using resources in space for a sustainable humans in space kind of presence. And this is exactly what Moxie is doing. And the thing that people don't talk about is this is the first time we actually did ISRU on another planet, like proved it worked and did something along those lines. We've had theories and we've done research and all this kind of stuff, but we actually took CO2 and turned it into oxygen, which if you're going to Mars, you want oxygen there. So the fact that we did this is just like, it's really going to show that going to Mars to stay is possible and sustainable. And that's really, really exciting.
Well, and if I heard correctly, too, it's not that, it's not just that we can make oxygen for breathing, but it's also oxygen for rocket fuel, correct? Isn't it both? Right. Okay. I just want to make sure that I have that right. So everybody here probably knows that I work with Explore Mars, too. We're going to have conversation. Janet Ivey is going to talk with Mike Heck from the principal investigator from Moxie, and so there'll be a Q&A. So I want to talk about a few of those different things, but I'm excited about just the pieces. This was just a crazy week of just so many things happened. It was they created oxygen on Mars, and then the rocket went up, and then the Ingenuity flew again, and then Starships next week, and it's been stupid. So I'm excited because it gives us less to talk about. Kate, anything about this week in particular that was really exciting for you?
I think it was like every day there was something. There was something every single day. And I got really excited about Ingenuity launching just because like the idea of flying on another planet and like seeing all that data come in and then seeing the team so excited. Like I think I watched Mimi like over and over and over again. Like she was just beautiful when she talked, and her excitement was contagious. And that's kind of what I like to see, is that kind of sharing of that excitement with others, because that's how we get to the next point. That's how we make dreams happen. So that was the most exciting part of me, is just seeing like the team and their hard work and everything coming to fruition. So
can we like talk about for a second that like Mimi just became an overnight celebrity in the space world just because she's like an excited, amazing human being. Like I didn't even know she existed before Perseverance, and now everyone's like Mimi.
Yep. And
I'm obsessed.
Diana's been around for a while too, but Diana has had like so much love since all this has been going on. It's great to see the faces that are showing up on this, and we go back to Bobak whenever everybody saw his reaction. It's the cool guy with the mohawk, and he's just all thrilled about going on, and that's just one of the best human beings in the world. But it's so great that we're seeing more and more of these stories and people. And whenever you look back, none of us, well, maybe Rod might have known because of just how much he dove into it, but not many people knew who Katherine Johnson was until the book came out, let alone the movie. I'm from West Virginia and didn't know who she was, and like space stuff, and I found out about the book first because I knew that the movie was coming out. So it's like, there's going to be this incredible woman in this movie. She's from West Virginia. I'm like, we got like 3 people from there, and one of them is younger than me. So can I take that? Like, who's this? I need to know who this person is. And it was just such an incredible, incredible story. And I'm honestly wondering if we went from the previous Thursday with Blue's successful flight to Thursday, I think that probably was the most important week for space since the Apollo missions, maybe even Apollo 11 mission, because there was just so much. It was like thing after thing after thing after thing. It was crazy. So is that going too far? Does anybody agree?
No, I got to say, so I had to put out press releases for the National Space Society for every one of the things we're talking about. So there was one about Starship, there was one about Bill Nelson, there was one about Ingenuity, there was one about Moxie and the implications for settlement. But the one I really enjoyed writing the most, although they're all cool, was saying, hey, this announcement of SpaceX for the human landing system on the moon is somewhere in importance between Kennedy 1961 and NASA announcing Apollo 8 1968. I mean, it's just unbelievably cool. And I mean, it makes sense when you look at it objectively. Lowest bidder, they're already building stuff. They've flown 5 or 6 tests just between the 2 green runs of the SLS. If you want
just real quick, can we see Bailey's face? I just have to see Bailey's reaction one more time. Can you give the exact reaction you just gave? Bailey works at Paragon, if you missed that.
Yeah.
Rod. Well, so what?
Well, but I mean,
you're so excited, Bailey. So I'm focused on you, and I can't see everybody. Nobody else can see everybody's faces but me. And Bailey's face is going from grinning at you like.
Okay.
Oh.
But to be fair, most people who are interested in this, especially from a political or a policy side, want a second set of bidders. We want a second system. There's a reason, as we've seen with SpaceX and Boeing delivering astronauts to the space station or not. There's a reason to have a backup plan. So yeah, we want a second landing system, but Congress has got to give NASA enough money to do it. I mean, I have never seen a NASA rep. So we get on the press conference on was it Thursday or Friday? I guess it was Friday, which is weird already. It's like a 3-hour announcement, Friday afternoon press conference, which is in the ditch of death for media. And the NASA people come on and say, we're very excited to announce this new landing system. It's like, come on, you guys, amp it up a little bit. But there just weren't many options because they got incredibly short change on the HLS allocation. So really want to see a second system out there. But I just thought it was remarkable. Here is the least likely rocket to mate up with what NASA's already doing that gets chosen. But, you got to admit, Elon's got a lot of skin in the game and he's putting his own money into it. And I just think it's really weird that we're going to be launching astronauts on the SLS in the Orion, flying them out to the moon, and then moving over into Starship to land and come back. It keeps it from having to re-enter the Earth's atmosphere and land retropropulsively and all that. But I can't quite decide if I think that's real or if it's kind of a make-work program for SLS. Interested to hear what you guys say.
Yeah, I thought that was a little. I mean, people have said, "Oh, have they not?" Somebody said that, and then I think it was Space Hipsters. Somebody said, "Oh, I guess I didn't hear about the Apollo missions." Yeah, but shouldn't Starship be able to do all of that, like everything that needs to be done? And I'm excited about SLS in Orion, but it just feels like maybe just I don't know. I'm confused by that because I'm not an engineer. That's just not my area of expertise.
Well, you don't have to be an engineer. You can just be a follower of the political scene. By law, Congress has required us to use SLS. So it's not an option to let it sit there. But yeah, if you give Elon time, Starship cannot take 3 or 4 people and the first woman to the moon. They could take 40 people and a whole bunch of cargo and all that kind of stuff, especially if they refuel orbitally. So yeah, it's kind of confusing. But again, I think it was just a matter of circumstance. And the NASA people were very clear. We didn't have any other options. So, but I thought that was really exciting and cool. And like I said, I want to see the second one. Bid, maybe even a third, that'll make everybody happy.
Yeah, I do agree with that part. I think that you use SLS partially because you built SLS, right? Like we all know it's been this level of it has
like
been
20 years, hasn't it? It's like 20 years.
What it is since the better part of the last 17 years, right? And literally
20 years.
1,000 United States companies have worked on it. And if you're going, and part of the mission you have to remember on behalf of NASA is not just to get to space, but also facilitate, the economy here, use American companies, use all of these companies. So it makes sense to test both in a way for both companies to be tested in this. So take SLS up, use all of the work that went into that, all of the the time and literally the money that went into that. Send that up and then go off to the next spacecraft by SpaceX in order to shift over, right? A lot of this is about demonstrating that through the combination of the government and public-private partnerships, that we can do this space mission, and that's this is part and parcel of aligned with that mission. So, I think it kind of seems a little sloppy, like we're just kind of shoehorning this in or we're throwing this in, but part of this is we want all of the groups that built all of these capabilities to be able to have their own capabilities at the end of the day. I mean, that's part of NASA's mission, is to build up these companies. I don't know. What does anyone else think on that?
Bailey, Kate, Bailey's focus.
I can So yeah, I mean, in general, like
let her face. That was the face that happened whenever Rod was like really excited about Starship. Was her just being like, "All right, the show."
I'm gonna leave. You guys have a great night.
I'm gonna hit up Loretta and see if we can start a Yuri's night and take all your viewers. Yuri's night too.
Real quick. No, but okay. So I worked on the life support. Paragon did the life support for the Dianetics proposal. So that's kind of like my background, my skin in the game, I guess. And it was just, I moved to Tucson. I started this job and I moved to Tucson in the middle of a pandemic for HLS. So purely from a personal standpoint, like it hurt, man. Like of all the programs I've ever worked in, my heart was poured into this one. And I pulled this up for you guys to see. I took this video at work the day after it was announced. If you guys can see it, let's see. It's kind of reflecty, but there you go.
If you send me the link, I can play it.
Really?
It's just a picture, but it was just like erasing the HLS, removing those meetings from my schedule. It was just hard from like a personal engineer, like that was hard. But what I keep saying on social media and stuff is no matter what, we're going to the moon. Like, how can anyone be upset about these options? Because we're going to the moon, and that's absolutely amazing. So regardless of who won and all the political stuff behind it, I hope SpaceX has the resources they need to make it happen. I hope that we have a recompete so that more players can get in and more of us can go to the moon one day.
And that last part's important, Bailey, right? Like you guys did the work to at least start building up some capacity. It's not like everything was just all on paper. You guys did the work to start building up the capacity to do this. So this is not the first time this is not the only time that we are going to the moon. You know, who's to say that you folks won't be picked on the next ride up there beyond Artemis? And this is something I try to remind people of throughout the space industry is that our journey does not end with Artemis. It begins with Artemis. Our journey ends at the edge of some eternal tomorrow. So I more than think that all the players who were down selected from will have their opportunity to shine in upcoming missions, and I think there will be money there. If I'm being honest, the whole point of this is to go to the moon and beyond to stay. And I think that while yes, we chose SpaceX, and they'll be the partner for this round. But that's not to say that they will be the partner for every round. That is not. I don't think. At least I don't think the intent of our government as well as other governments that are planning on being on this mission.
And we'd like to think that there's a likelihood that in the next 5 years we'll be looking for bids for a Phobos lander, right?
Yeah.
So it doesn't even have to be the moon, but yeah, backup systems.
And everyone needs life support, so Paragon's good. That's all I'm saying.
Exactly. Right now, as far as we know, Starship is a big empty shell above the fuel tank. So
that's right.
Contracts to be let.
Yeah, I feel like competition's a good thing, right, guys? Like, it's good to have like a little bit of competition, and it's good to say like, okay, they won out this time. What else can we do this next time to get in the game again? So it's not always a bad thing, and I feel like it kind of fuels innovation as well. So I'm excited to see what comes out of this and what else comes out from this as well, because people didn't win out in this option. So I'm excited. I think it's a good one. I'm sorry, Bailey, that it didn't work out this time, but I do think that there will be, like Newton said, there will be the next time. Artemis is the beginning, and we're able to build from there.
It's interesting. This is something I've been thinking about in the space industry in general, but it would be interesting to see if, how these discussions would have been had 50 years ago when we were planning Apollo, right? Like, no one was paying this much attention to the bidding process and who was in on what. And, from Lockheed to Grumman, as they were called, back in the day, like, people just weren't paying this much attention to that overall process, and these companies supported us getting to the moon. I mean, NASA was building up capacity, but so was they were building that stuff alongside and while hiring folks like Raytheon, but hiring folks like Lockheed, hiring folks like Grumman. So you've kind of had this since the beginning, right? You've had this since the beginning of the overall general mission, and contracting has had its issues overall and in general, but overall all of these players have gotten to play in the field, and I can absolutely see that happening with Paragon. I don't see a reason that they're not out of the game in general. They are just out of the game for this, and I understand that's hard, but they'll be back. You guys will be back, Bailey. You'll be all right.
Yeah.
It's not like other people aren't going to the moon separate from that. There's other things that are coming up. I mean, TJ Cooney, I had him on Spaces not too long ago. He's sending people's stuff. I mean, I think it's like their names on this little microchip is kind of how it works. But he's sitting on the moon with Astrobotics. I mean, there's a lot of these things that are coming up that this is just NASA's. What else is out there? What else is going to come from this? I mean, I'm not saying that they have any desire to work with them, but I heard Russia and China want to go to the moon and beat us there. So there's so much that's happening in this world. Not anything you've ever written about before, is it, Rod? You are the editor-in-chief of a magazine called like Ad Astra or something?
And over again. Step, though, I think one thing, it is fair to say that there's something here for everybody. It is fair to say that these are good processes and we should have multiple bids going in, all that. I think what is remarkable, though, and I'm not trying to trample anybody's feelings here, but what happened with the SpaceX announcement was, here's a company that's come in and spent hundreds of millions of dollars of its own money developing various spacecraft. That's never happened before. You didn't see Boeing and Grumman and those companies doing that back in the day. Is operating on fixed fee contracts. They're basically pushed up against a wall and said, here's the check, finish it. Oh, you didn't do it the way we said? we're going to have a problem with that. So it is really a paradigm shift. And I'd like to see, for instance, I'll just pick on Blue Origin because I don't think anybody here works at Blue Origin. I'm really surprised that they don't have more skin in the game. There's money there. There's another guy of equal wealth, roughly, with Musk. And I know that he's been putting $1 billion or more a year into Blue. And I know that he, at least in part, quit the Amazon CEO position to focus more on the space ventures. But I was a little surprised their bid was as high as it was and that they haven't put a little more work into what they've been doing, because honestly, it's a slightly lateral to what we're talking about. But I kind of feel like if SpaceX is able to get Starship to do point-to-point on Earth, what's going to be my motivation to pay $200,000 to $250,000 for a short suborbital hop in a tourist rocket when I can get on a Starship and end up in Shanghai and have basically the same experience? So I'm sorry, I'm kind of ranging wide here, but I do think that there is a remarkable difference here, which is something we certainly never saw in the space race. I mean, that was old school aerospace. The public wasn't paying much attention, but Congress and the companies sure were. And when you look at how North American aviation won the command module, especially the S2 stage for the Saturn V, there was a little bit of stuff there that was kind of, off the books, you might say.
I love the side eye that you just gave while you were trying to figure out how to put that. Like you just looked over the GIF where you looked at the screen and back.
I didn't want to say influence peddling, but it's like, and North Americans, they're gone. They've been absorbed and divvied up. But yeah, it was kind of, I mean, I think they were the right choice for the job. The S2 stage was brilliant. And I'm not sure any other company in the world, much less the United States, could have done that. But, this was NASA saying, okay, we know how the process is supposed to work, but this is what we need to do and we're out of time. Anyway, I don't want to get off on the weeds on that. I just think it really has, bidding and contracting has changed so much. And now we just saw a whole new pivot, which is NASA coming out and saying, okay, Congress, you shortchange us. We're going to go with one bid with the cheap guys who are also doing a lot of cool stuff. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens. We're watching the future unfold finally.
Oh, this is Grace's comment from Travis. Travis actually works at SpaceX, and he's saying, surprised about BO. They have a large talent pool that left SpaceX to join that team. And I've kind of wondered about that too. I feel like Blue's going to be quiet for a little bit longer, but with Bezos gone now, there's just so much they've been working on theirs. I honestly didn't even know till like maybe a couple months ago that there was even a new Armstrong. I knew about New Glenn, and I knew that was going to be a big rocket. I didn't even know that Armstrong was going to be a thing. I don't know how big it's going to be. I don't know anything about it. And so Blue is, I think it's only going to be more interesting the longer it goes on. I was honestly surprised when they were up for a few of the contracts they were up for, because there's not really much past. Like, I would be surprised if Virgin Galactic got something like that because Virgin Galactic so far has only been, hey, we took this up, we tested it, we brought it back. For Blue to say that, we know they're working on it. Not saying it's not a large talent pool. Travis just proved it, saying, I know a lot of friends that left our team at SpaceX to go work for them. So,
and they're building the largest single chamber rocket engines in the U.S. now. So, and then selling them to ULA. What kind of business model is that? It's really cool. That's certainly 21st century. Hey, we got this big rocket engine we know you can't afford to buy from Aerojet Rocketdyne, but you can buy it from us even though we're competing with you for cargo manifests. That's fantastic.
I heard a great term from Sean Wilson from Northrop Grumman. She said competimates. I love that. The idea of that throughout the industry is that so many people work together. And I love, so Space Symposium a couple of years ago, I was walking around with like camera guy, awesome guy came with Bailey and I to go cover the Humans to Mars Summit a couple of years ago. And so as we're walking around, I'm talking to people at different booths. Lockheed Martin would say, oh, and we're working on blah, blah, blah. And they're like 2 booths over. Everybody did that. Nobody had ever really done, other than Emily Calandrelli a couple of years ago. She went to a couple different booths, but I think she really only went to Lockheed because she was with Lockheed at the time doing stuff with them. But nobody really walked around with a camera group talking to each one of them to say, kind of like IGN does for video games. I'm like, I want to try that. Nobody's done it before, and Space Foundation likes me. They even gave me a job after that. So it was cool to have that, but to see how quickly everybody was asking questions off the cuff, having no idea what I was going to ask. We're so quick to say, that's an awesome group. We're working with them. They do this. This is what we do. You put this together, and this is what's created. And we see this with a lot of different groups. Bailey, I'm sure that you all have people that you work closely with. Is where you can add on what's next. Okay, so that part's gone, but obviously you have a lot of big pieces in what Paragon is doing. I know, Coach, you talked about them on yours night. So anything you want to share of what you all are up to at your new place that you left Colorado Springs for, by the way, still bitter. So I'm going to talk about Starship here more in a little bit, but no, just kidding.
Yeah, well, one thing I did want to say is I think SpaceX has changed the game. So how can you get mad at them for raising the bar? You know what I mean? Like, how can you get mad at anyone for making it a better industry to be in, and a more competitive, more exciting? That's really cool to see. In terms of what's going on with Paragon, yeah, this was kind of a hit for a lot of us. A lot of us moved to Paragon for this for HLS, but a lot of stuff is happening. Like I said, Paragon focuses on life support. So we actually have a unit that was launched to ISS in April. So we didn't, or maybe it was March, recently, I should say. So that was really exciting because that's one that's turning urine into water, brine into water, cleaner water for the astronauts. And we're doing a lot of work with that. We have a lot of R&D stuff coming up of just new ways to recycle material, make life more comfortable. I think the other thing that's coming up that's super cool is we've got some space suit work for not companies, for very rich individuals who are interested in space suit work. So we've got a lot of other stuff coming down the pipeline.
And I mean, there's just so many huge things that are happening right now too. This reminds me because there's a couple things we're missing. Inspiration 4 has happened in the last that was like somewhere around a week. We've got Bailey's cat. Is here doing that stare up thing. Look, but we're really excited about it because we're big fans of Cyan Proctor. Everybody else I didn't know, I have to be honest, but Cyan is somebody that I am so behind her getting to go to space, and she's an incredible voice. We actually have a really cool event that I've been helping out with. So not tomorrow, a week from is it a week from tomorrow? Yeah, a week from tomorrow, May 1st, the Analog Astronaut free conference. So I'll put the link up so people can join in if you want to watch. Bailey, I think you're going to be a part of that. Am I correct? You're going to be on one of the panels. It's a list of awesome people.
Yeah, I'm on the diversity panel because I'm a diverse person. So I guess we're going to be talking about why it matters to bring all these different types of people into the analog astronaut and into space. So it's going to be really cool.
It's really a great one. I'm glad to be involved in it. And I mean, there's just so many cool pieces that are out there. And there's something else that I missed too. Like there's another big thing that just recently happened. So feel free to jump in. But Kate, you as a science communicator, what is it that you're kind of getting the most reaction from people that are reaching out to you, people that are following like your platforms, the stuff that you're doing? Or is there something that you're just really nerding out on that we haven't talked about yet that you want to be like, this is what I've been talking about. It's awesome. So.
I think I've been learning how to pilot lately, and I've been getting so many comments, especially from women, just saying, I've always wanted to do this, and it's really inspirational seeing like you take the initiative to do this. And I've been trying to like follow up with like every lesson that I have, just talk about like the different things that we've been doing. And one of the reasons why I wanted to learn how to pilot is that I really wanted to do and get into some analog astronaut work, and like you, Bailey. And so like I thought that would be like a great initiative to kind of take the helm there and teach myself something that I can rely on myself for, and to go through and be safe, like do all the plane checks, make sure that I follow protocol, because there's so much that's invested with it. And I've been really, really happy, you know, like with the people that it's been inspiring, and seeing people, you know, sign up for their first lesson. They send me messages and they're like, look, you know, like I saw you do it, so I thought I could do it too. And I think that that's what this is about. It's about like connecting with people and showing them that this is possible, like space is possible. Like you can have your dreams, and the bigger the better, because I think that the bigger your dreams are and the more you're honest about like what you want in your life, the more that other people will see that and be honest with their dreams too. And that makes the whole world bigger. So that's something that I've been working through, that I've really been connecting with a lot of people on. So yeah.
I mean, it really is the best group. I mean, that's all the people that I've met from Project Possum alone, or the people that I've known that have gotten involved with it afterwards. And, you know, Bailey's done it. Bailey went and did it. Who was the person that you bunked with, Bailey?
My roommate was Dr. Cyan Proctor. So yeah, Cyan and I have been, she's actually one of my official mentors now. So the fact that like she became my mentor and then she's like going to space, I'm like, okay, that's what I want to do. Like that, follow her, do her life, because she did exactly what you're talking about, Kate. It's just so authentically. She was just excited to be there, to learn things. She did the same thing, go get her pilot's license. She went and all these things. And that's how I want my life to be too, because even if I don't go to space, it's going to be a really exciting life, you know?
Exactly.
Seriously.
Exactly.
And I think that one of the cool things about Cyan is that Cyan was right around 40 when she went for an attempt at being a NASA astronaut. That didn't go through, although she came very close. And then after that, she's
so
like,
close.
you know what? She's like, you know what? I'm not even close to done. So then she went on the first high seas mission. Then she went on another one. She did the one with it was her, Makai Eustace, JJ.
Victoria.
Huh? Yeah, Sensoria, exactly. Yeah, no, I was trying to remember everybody's name that was on it because I interviewed the entire team, but I only met a few of them just that one time. But they were absolutely incredible. If you haven't seen Sensoria, I think it's sensoria-mission.com is the website. So you can go see everything that's on there about how they put this together. There's more missions. And it's a really, really cool thing to see the way that they're putting missions together now in a multitude of different ways. There's a possibility we may do one with the Odd Astronaut team that would go there and kind of look at that and look at like what life would be like. Right now, as far as I know, there's never been anybody that's non-binary that's ever done a mission, at least from not what we've heard of. So there's just a lot of opportunities to continue to learn more and more about us as humanity, and it's not just. I mean, it was crazy for, you know, the Apollo crew too. Of course it was, but I mean, just now that we know, like, they looked over the Mercury 13, and we might get to see Wally go to space here before long, which is going to be awesome. And that Wally is still that incredibly full of life at like 90. And then, you know, we go back to saying Cyan at 40. Okay, I want to do 15 times more than what I did. And it reminds me too. There's a couple of things with Julio Hernandez that did the same thing. You know, like he's just like, okay, so I don't have this, so I'm going to get a flight, like I'm going to get a pilot's license. I'm going to do all these things after, you know, applying. I don't remember how many times it was, and then, you know, astronaut. It's just incredible these stories of how people are like, oh, I'm not good enough yet. I'll show you, NASA.
And the coolest thing about it is the people you just mentioned is like they have such an act two. Like they've had amazing lives, but you ain't seen nothing until their act two. You know what I mean?
Absolutely correct. So I think it's a really cool thing how this is stretching out more and more to different folks, and we're seeing a lot of differences here. So another big thing that a lot of people are kind of getting involved in and kind of telling the story of now, and I'm really excited about it. I just found out for sure. So Monday morning, I'm going to fly down to Brownsville. I'm going to be able to see SN15 launch next week. So many people are, so my first trip in a year, I get to go with the one and only Mac Malkowie. He's in the comment section tonight. He said he would have hopped in, but he's doing his therapy in his hot tub right now, probably with a glass of Ardbeg or Maker's Mark. Exactly. Says Rod gives the thing, and then he's on a boat.
Guy.
Yeah, no, right?
Not anymore.
Not anymore. I'm not on a boat. I was on a boat last time we talked, Rob, but not now. So Mac and Borderless Labs is an incredible group. If you don't know about them, we're going to have Mac on again in the show here in the near future, I'm sure. They're just doing incredible work to bring science communication to more areas. He's worked in particular with folks. He's originally from Jordan. He said he just wanted to chime in. It is indeed Maker's Mark. So he worked with Syrian refugees, and there's a few of them. I'll put the link at the bottom so you can see it. But the goal for him is that there's a lot of places that have science communication on TV, but Nat Geo in Arabic is all dubbed and subtitled English stuff. You know, or from elsewhere in the world. It's not an actual person that speaks Swahili in front of the camera speaking Swahili and doing all that. So the goal is to create all this content and kind of make a more international version of a Curiosity stream, maybe even a Nat Geo someday. It's just a really cool idea, plus also giving resources. So one of the things we're going to do is we're going to go down there. We're going to film a bunch of stuff. I can't wait. We get to live stream. Max says he's just trying to be more like Rod Pyle, so I guess we're going to eventually do some stuff on a boat. But there's some other – this is actually just the beginning of kind of what we're looking at doing, but there's been so much coming out of that little town. Not all of it is good. Something blew up in the air and just shut stuff everywhere not too long ago. So that happened, but it's so cool that more of the regular public is sharing what's going on because they can see more of it. It's not just stuck in, you know, Kennedy, like the Kennedy Space Center, you know, Titusville, Space Coast area. It's spreading out. Blue is too. Like Blue's in the middle of Texas somewhere. I don't even remember where that's at. So is it something you're noticing more of, that more of your your friends that aren't in the space industry are going to you as their own personal like scientist or space person to connect with you on what's going on. So Bailey, you want to go first, and we'll kind of go around the horn. Rod is, I don't even think Rod has any people that aren't space friends anymore, as much as he doesn't, like, you know, but
oh, I got a few.
Actually, you're boat people.
No, when so, you know, SpaceX will do a launch. So I live in LA, so SpaceX will do a launch, and you can see it from Southern California. And if it's at dusk, of course, you get the primary trail going up, and then you see it split, and part of it comes back, and the rest keeps going. So I'll get calls from my civilian friends saying, what the hell just happened? What's going on in the sky? And then if they do a fuel bump, you get that dump, they get a big plume and all that. So yeah, you get those very exciting calls. It's fun to explain it to them. I have not yet succumbed.
Yeah.
Huh?
The Falcon Nebula is what I call it.
Yeah, and I've not yet succumbed to you know, the temptation to say, "Oh man, didn't you get the Amber Alert? We're being invaded." But I'm going to, I think, at some point.
You have to. You kind of have to.
The Venusians are pissed off. You know,
that's usually my go-to is aliens. Yeah. It's clearly aliens.
It's clearly aliens. The answer is never aliens.
Well, okay, so do we know for a fact that Elon isn't an alien? I mean, this guy is too brilliant to be. You know, I'm just saying. Jeff, Mark, and Elon, all probably aliens, just by the way that sometimes Mark Zuckerberg had one come up earlier, and I can't remember what exactly it was. In fact, I'm going to look it up directly so I can say this the way that he said it. And It just felt like Mark trying to be a human being, even though he's not. It was just this is what a human would say. Oh, boy, you just stepped in. Are we not on Facebook?
Oh, yeah. Do you ever get so excited about what you're working on that you forget to eat meals? Yes, you friggin' alien.
I saw that. And Sheryl Sandberg actually replied something to him. There's a Sheryl Sandberg quote underneath that.
I mean, are we biting our tongues right now? Is anybody other than me like? Do you ever get so tied up in work you forget about scruples?
What had happened was, Bailey, I know
I wasn't there.
Well, it wasn't me, I swear. Except for I'm directly in the lower left-hand corner. But Bailey, you've been doing a lot, and you've even been doing it in a very interesting way too. So now you got the Rubik's Cube people following you. So there's that. You're in like a couple different groups there. So you know what's been happening with you as you become more and more of this, you know, science personality / engineer / skycommer or skycommer, as I came up with like 2 weeks ago. Yeah,
I like that. Yeah,
I didn't do that. That was actually somebody at work thought he read skycommer or skycommer and thought it was skycommer, and I'm like, stealing that. Like happy accident. Yeah.
Yeah, I think in general. So I started this whole like science communication thing about 2 years ago. It's about when I met Ron. He was one of my first space friends to really kind of help this journey I'm on. And it's really interesting because I've got the academic side, I've got the professional career side, but the thing that keeps me going is all this science communication. It's meeting people like everyone on this call. It's talking to kids, K through 12 or college students. And really what it is for me, at least, is getting people excited and really to think about things in a new light of, you know, this is possible. So now that you know that this is possible, what are you going to do next? It's now in your hands. What are you going to do? And to me, I think that's just super fun, super exciting. And I like to do it in unique ways. Like Ron just said, like I'm now an official Rubik's Cube ambassador, which is not something that I thought would help all this space stuff. You know what I mean? Like I didn't think that would tie in at all. But now it's like I'm reaching all these other kids who obviously have this like STEM inclination. But now I can show them that the space world is out there for them to take. And I think that's what's most exciting about it, is just connecting people to each other and to space.
I love that. So, Kate, I know that you're obviously doing science communication now. Is there anything else in particular that you're focused on? Like, whenever I first got into it, I'm like, I'm going to get an astronomy degree. And then for some reason, people were like, here, we're going to give you a job without a degree. And I'm like, okay, that's cool. So I'm going to get back to that eventually. But is there, pilot's license is a big one. It's something that I want to do. Is there any other things that you're kind of eyeing right now to say, what do I want to do with this next?
What I'm going to do? That's a really great question. I got into, I went to school for biology and I really wanted to study science. And I had a social media background. Like that's how I got through college was I did social media for companies. And when I got out of school, I was like, I don't know how to combine all these different me's into something that is something that I'm passionate about. And
Preach.
Yeah, so it was really hard. And I was always like the person at the party that would come up with like the fun facts that no one wanted to hear. And I found out that there's people on the internet that want to hear those things. There's people that want to connect with that. And I met with, I was visiting my brother to meet, we went to like Neil deGrasse Tyson, like his book signing up there. And IAC was at the same time. And I'm like, we should go to IAC. And I got to talk to some people at NASA. And I want to say it was Lockheed Martin. They did marketing for both of those companies, and they're like, "You should apply for the NASA Social. It's perfect. It's exactly what you're looking at and what you're into." And so that's what I applied for. And I didn't even realize it was a thing that I could do. And once I got into it and started doing it, I got to see like there's so much possibility out there. It's not just, you don't have to be just an engineer, and you don't have to be just an artist. It's all about like having those ideas come together. And so seeing that in real time and seeing like the group of people that NASA brought together for my particular NASA Social was like so inspiring, because there were poets there were artists there were like there were computer engineers there, and like we all got together and we created such a great master mind that was able to take on like this beautiful event that was happening in front of us. So being a part of that, I just wanted to be a part of it more, and it's kind of streamlined my whole leaning into this SkyCom, and just connecting with more and more people and getting more involved. I knew then that was going to be it. I just felt it. It just clicked. So that's kind of like what's driving me. And every bit is just to get me a little bit closer to what that means, and to be a part of that, to belong here. So yeah.
No, it's beautifully stated. If you would have told me a decade ago, when I still had no interest in space or science, that by the time I was heading right up 140, that I would be not just one, but a multitude of different organizations, either collaborating with them or working with them, or working on their projects with them. We had a really cool conversation yesterday. It was like 5, 6 o'clock in the morning. It was after the launch, and everything was a blur. I'd been up for probably more than 24 hours already by the time we had this, but we spoke with Asesco. We spoke to this incredible group on the other side of the world that is this Islamic team that is working on bringing more space to all of those countries with the CEO of the Space Foundation. And I'm like, I thought it was just going to be me and one guy. They made a press release out of it. I didn't have my camera hooked up yet. You can tell it has a weird color still because it still has the settings on it from when I did astrophotography, and I forgot about that before we were getting on tonight. I'm like, oops, my bad. So now I kind of got like a weird yellow look. Anyway, that happens. But yeah, it's incredible, these opportunities that show up when you just keep showing up.
Yeah,
so Rod,
exactly.
well, and there's something I want to kind of pick on here with you, Rod, is that Was it always space for you, or I feel like it was not just, it was David Eicher and you were both people I heard of that have done history stuff too, written history books and other things. Is it both?
It's actually kind of embarrassing. So okay. I was the kid who was, spent a lot of time alone in the corner of the playground doing rockets and staring at space, and you do too much of that and people just kind of start avoiding you. At least they did back in the day. Because if I went to my elementary school library and asked for all the books they had on rockets and astronomy, it was the Golden Book of the Stars and some book about rockets where everything looked like a silver banana from World War II. So it was miserable. But yeah, because I was fortunate enough to grow up during the space age, I was able to watch this stuff real time, and it was unbelievable. I mean, by the time I was just a preteen, there were these incredible flights of discovery and exploration heading off to the moon as frequently as every 10 weeks. I mean, how cool is that? And the only downside was because we only had 3 TV networks. By the time the media realized that nobody was going to die on Apollo 14, those guys are struggling up to Cone Crater, and the networks cut away to Days of Our Lives and I Love Lucy reruns. I mean, it was appalling. And I had played hooky from school to see it. But yes, I was always into that. I was an astronomy major at UCLA, and advanced mathematics and I had a parting of company and a slight disagreement about how advanced mathematics should actually be done. And so I decided I was going to go major in communications instead. And yeah, never looked back. Although I did have a very brief, unwitting one-day career as a hand model. I wanted to tell Kate that, because hand modeling is one of the weirdest ways people make livings on this planet.
I mean, Zoolander even made fun of it. Like when David Duchovny shows up and he's got that perfect, gorgeous hand. And that I did not get that movie as a teenager. And then there was something that was legal in Colorado that I tried at some point in my DJ career. I'm like, oh, this is funny. Now I get it.
So I'm running this commercial company back in the 80s. And we're supposed to be doing this ad for the LA Times. And
I love that drop. So I'm running a commercial agency in the 1980s.
Well, I mean, because I'm old, right? And the hand model didn't show up, so they start running around screaming, "Who's got skinny fingers?" And I'm looking at my hands, thinking, "Oh, so put them in my pockets." Next thing I know, I'm on stage, and they're putting Nair on my knuckles, so they'll be bald because you got to have bald hands. And then I had like 6 cups of coffee that morning, so they clamped my arm in a couple of C-stands, and I'm there turning the paper like I've got palsy or something, and I didn't get a freaking dime for it. And I think, what do union hand models make now, Kate? Like, I don't know, 600 a day or something.
Yeah,
I like how she doesn't want anybody to know. Like, listen, this is my thing, and I'm making all the money.
Well,
I'm going to stay worried about what I'm making.
Okay?
Yeah, like y'all going to get on Fiverr and start taking my money? No, like it's not that much money. Here's Kate, and this is like one of Kate's 4 homes. That's why she's like, I don't really need a job.
That's the one in Aspen, right? I think.
That's one in Aspen. It's right up the road.
Nice.
It's such a bizarre life, but it's it was really, really interesting because it was not something that I sought out. Like, no one seeks out to do hand modeling. And then I was on set, I think it was for a Little Caesars commercial, and the director went around kind of like what you said, where he was like, all right, who had, like, I needed to hold a cell phone, and he had like the makeup person come in, and then like the director came in, and then the clients came in, and I had to show him my hands, and they're like, oh, you have really pretty hands. And I was like, oh God, like I don't know what to do with this information, sir. And they gave me like a.
I just want to let everybody know, Kate just told everyone on the internet that she has really pretty hands. So,
well, if somebody said that,
we're not going to share Kate's Instagram handle.
Okay, so I'm glad she's a hand model.
Right?
I have a reel out there somewhere of just my hands. Like it's so bizarre. It's such a bizarre world.
Like a stinger reel, like you have music in the background.
Well, I think a stinger reel is whenever that would be all of her. That would be all of her holy shit moments. Like that would be her. Like, well, this was my part in Marvel where I popped up with this person, right? With the hand. Like, so now, I mean, there's got to be eventually a new Addams Family movie. So maybe they can make, the thing like a really attractive hand instead of him being kind of gangly and stuff. What if it was like there was like the whole thing?
How about Thing gets a girlfriend?
Thing gets a girlfriend. Yeah. Wow. But wouldn't she be a foot?
I don't think we should go there.
Yeah, who knows?
This show's rated G,
right? There's a family show on. Relax.
It's not yet 10 o'clock in California.
This has gone in so many different directions I wasn't expecting tonight. We have not one but 2 hand models on the show. Didn't know. Okay, so let's just go back to this real quick. Is there any other weird skills that anybody has? I feel like Newton, there's something that you have done. Now that we're talking about, like, there has to be like, what did you get? Do you have like your own eyelash, company? Is there anything in particular you want to let us know?
I am a Muay Thai coach. That's a thing.
That's great. Okay,
that's cool. That's
nice. That day in Bailey, so the entire top row are martial artists, and in the bottom row are the hand models. So that was not on purpose, but it's just weird how that worked out.
Our hands are done for. Like,
we've broken too much.
You never know, Bailey. Like, I could contact you like next year. We could be on this show together, and you're gonna be like, so they needed someone to solve a Rubik's cube. It was a close up, and then you'll be a hand model.
You gotta slow-mo the Rubik's
exactly.
Cube.
I think I need to go get a manicure real quick to get ready for this. I don't know.
You just never know.
Could happen.
It's going to be Bailey doing like spinning back kicks, and and then it's going to be Rubik's Cube in her hand, and then she's going to be in a rocket, and it'll start floating. I've already got the whole TikTok commercial in my head right now. Let's do it.
You guys have a lot of faith in me. I very much appreciate it. It sounds awesome.
Hey, I'm counting on you staying in life support because good engineering is never wasted, innovation is never wasted, and frankly, regardless of whose spacecraft it is, if I'm going somewhere more than an hour from Earth, I want Paragon and those guys building that system because Grant and you folks are awesome. So
Thank you, Rod.
That's
I
my vote.
appreciate that.
Advertising.
Yeah.
Have I redeemed myself now?
Oh, for sure. Yeah. No, there you go. There's that. That's the tagline: is if you want to go anywhere in space, you want Paragon to provide your air. Like.
That's right.
There you go.
So hey, and by the way, you might tell your
Paragon,
boss,
breathe easy.
ad space is available. So
Oh,
Ad
really?
space
Oh,
is
come on down, Paragon. We're selling.
Put in a good word.
Now you know. Well, that's a perfect. Wasn't meaning to transition into that, but I really had it in my head already. At Astra, for those people that don't know about it, I would be surprised with this group. But incredible publication, been out for quite some time, and it's underneath NSS, National Space Society. So let's talk a little bit about the magazine, the organization, what you all are up to. You guys are always busy. I've always got good friends that are there doing cool stuff.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about it.
Well, so let me start with the magazine. So this is their quarterly. It's normally about 63 pages. Special edition we just put out. We do that once a year, is 100, and this one's on living in space. So for years, it was only for members of the National Space Society. So that was kind of the primary perk. But we've upped the game a bit. So we are now selling it by subscription on a website at astramagazine.com. You can buy it digitally on most of the major platforms, Apple, Google, Amazon, and so forth. And we're going to be in major bookstores, including Barnes & Noble and another chain on the East Coast that I can't remember. It might be Hudson News, starting in about 2 weeks. So we're expanding like crazy.
I'm so excited. You just said Hudson News. I'm like, I'm getting on a plane here soon. I want to be able to see Hudson News again. Like, there's so many things. Like, I haven't had a Wolfgang Puck pizza in a while. So thank you for giving me the good thoughts. Yes. Sorry, Rod, go ahead.
And just so it's said, we're about 80% freelance driven. There's only about 3 people that do the whole magazine. I wear a lot of hats. So if people have got articles they want to pitch, all I ask is that they look at an issue of the magazine first. If you want to pitch, get a hold of me by email and I'll send you a digital sample. But, I get sometimes pitches for like, cool baby wear or something. And it's like, do you guys even know what we do? I mean, so yeah, just look at the thing first. But so that's going very well. NSS is moving in a lot of directions, like your organization. In fact, we are collaborating on some things with you. But there's always new things going on. The latest sort of push we did, I produced a video on space solar power that's starting to roll out, and I'm not quite sure how it got spotted, but it got written up in Political Space Wednesday, I think. So we're starting to get some views on that. It's basically a love letter to Earth saying, hey, we're sorry about all the ways we sort of messed you up. We're here to help, Things are going all right. Yeah, I know.
But it's what we kind of do.
Well, yeah, and honestly, you talk about the mission of organizations like ours. I mean, I don't think ours is the same as Explore Mars is, but really, you can have a lot of missions, but I think a big part of the mission statement just needs to be spreading the word and getting mind share and helping people understand why this stuff's important. I started doing some academic work on a study that I didn't finish about NASA's efforts in publicizing itself, because that really isn't part of their charter. They got a budget for it that goes up and down, but it's not really part of their charter to go out to the public and say, here's why we're awesome. And it's been met, there's been some marginal success there. I think some years have gone better than others, some decades have gone better than others. There's this idea that the whole country was united behind Apollo during the space race, and I was there. It wasn't like that at all. A lot of people thought it was a dopey idea and were very upset about how much money we were spending. So we still have this kind of 50-50 balance that we need to address. So I think that needs to be a part of our job in all these organizations. It's just helping people understand why this stuff is so important and why it matters. It's not just about Elon and his cool rockets. It's about benefits to us all over the decades.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. Like you said, it's not necessarily their charter to do so, but that's why you have groups like NSS, you have groups like the Planetary Society that are just out pushing stuff. I mean, I would say though, of all agencies in the federal government, I get to see a lot of these agencies living here in DC, and NASA probably does the best job in terms of communicating. Like, I thought they released a brilliant Earth Day video earlier this week that was just incredible, as well as some of the flights and some of the more recent stuff to come come out of JPL when it came to exploring Mars. I think they've done a good job of advertising that. And a lot of organizations like NSS and like Planetary Society have done a good job of sort of latching onto that and helping sort of spread the word. But I do think that we need more just in general from the public in terms of spreading the word. Organizations like Planetary, like organizations like NSS, I would love to see more of them on social media, helping out and pushing more videos. I have loved some of the stuff that I've seen from independent science communicators. I think that's something that needs to be taken advantage of. We need to create more work between more working communication between those folks like Emily Calandrelli, folks like Bailey, folks like Kate, all of these folks. I would love to see us helping to promote and push them as much as we can to promote this whole space thing, and to have organizations where that's their charter to help push a lot of these independent communicators, because a lot of independent communicators have come online, especially in the last few years, given the rise of TikTok and given the rise of Twitter and all of these different things. So I am 100% for sort of with all due respect, the old guard of space advocacy, the old guard of SciComm, pushing along these newer voices, because those are the folks that really get people interested. There's a lot of folks that don't know about Planetary Society or NSS, but they know who Emily Calandrelli is, right? So that might be something to think about going forward, is how can we promote voices like that that are out there doing the work and helping, and how can some of these organizations that already have sort of an infrastructure and institution help out those groups as well, and help raise new quote unquote science guys and gals.
I mean, as the independent science communicator that was hired by Space Foundation and Explore Mars, I agree with you on that. And so we appreciate your support in your message. So I was going to say, so where should we send the check to Newton? Where do we put that out to? Let me just check with Chris and Tom and see what they say.
Part of it is something I've been talking about, at least for the last few years in a lot of these public forums, is we are at a place where there can no longer be a science guy, right? There are so many people who have different ways of conveying this super important message, and there are just so many different facets of the space mission, from freaking fashion, right, all the way up to the actual astrophysics of it, that we need.
Somewhere Athena's ears just perked up.
Yeah.
Kelly G's in her house, and like Dakota's making a new video. She's like, I've been summoned.
Right. There are so many different aspects of the SciComm mission. We should be nurturing these folks as much as possible, and having the folks who have been in the trenches for years, again, the Bill Nyes and the Planetary Society, the Rods at the at NSS, having them sort of nurture these people along and saying, okay, here's here's what's what in the context of space, right? You've read these things about Apollo, but here's what actually happened, right? Like, having that kind of knowledge should be more than just in the magazine, right? That should be knowledge at the hand of space communicators that are reaching audiences far and wide, that are reaching the audiences that the kids want to listen to. That's one thing I would love to see going forward, is how can we incubate these science communicators so that because they have the ability to reach young people, they have much more of a capacity to reach young people. How can some of the folks that have been doing this for a while help educate them, help nurture them, and help them get to a better place within the space industry?
I mean, it's
I have an idea.
Very much what I do, and I love that. And I'm hoping that maybe I should do a TED Talk on it. But I mean, the funny part is the way that you mentioned that was the conversation that was being had after Emily Calandrelli did her talk at Space Symposium a couple years ago for the Hall of Fame talk. She went on stage and said, everybody in here, you have people that work for you that are storytellers doing amazing things. There are the independent communicators like she was, but also the people that work for you. Like, you look at the Bob Ekfordowskis and you look at the other folks that are in all these different organizations. Now we have Camille, the Galactic gal who's at Lockheed Martin, telling that story. She loves her job, loves what she does, and she mixes it with the TikTok videos where she's dancing, laughing, and talking about all the different challenges, and also the things that she loves, and also sharing behind the scenes of where it is she works and what she's doing. they're finding more and more people have these dual, that you can be not only an engineer but a science communicator and a marketing person, and you are part of telling that story. And it has been great for us. We've seen, the ability to get somebody that's a science communicator and has the awesome relationships that I have. Whenever we're pushing something like the Humans to Mars Summit, I can say, hey, friends that I do communication stuff with, and we go back and forth sharing those things, we'll give you a discount code and you can come on the show. I'm going to do one about streaming Mars or influencing Mars. Want to have you on this, and I want to talk about it, and then they'll share it out. And there's just a lot of different ways that these things can be taken in, and I'm glad that you said it. And Bailey's cat apparently agrees. She's staring right at her like, Mom, listen to what they're talking about. That's so awesome.
I feel like if Bailey's cat agrees, then you know what? I'm right. I must be right.
That's all you need. Right?
There's no argument.
Okay, so I just want to make a quick point that Bailey's cat looks very similar to the cat in Captain Marvel. Bailey has a Captain Marvel suit, so maybe it's not a cat's.
Look, all I'm saying is you haven't seen me and Carol Danvers in the same room, right? Like,
for sure.
I haven't.
For sure.
You
I mean, they were talking about replacing.
That seems like a flarkin to me.
Seems like a flarkin for real. So, Rod, I interrupted you here a little bit ago. Please share.
I was just going to say I've got an idea on how to solve this problem. So it's interesting because I worked at JPL for a while, and their media operation is very different than most of the rest of NASA, partly because they're the only field center that's not managed by NASA. They're under Caltech, right? So they've got a little more, seem to have a little more latitude there. And also they're communicating about robots. So you don't have the same kind of issues that you might have if you're talking about human spaceflight or just straight science when you're dealing with robots and engineering and so forth. So did a couple of books for them and helped write articles and worked at various media things. So you sort of get a sense for it. I think they really lifted the bar for NASA in general, especially, and credit due to the guy who did the show, 7 Minutes of Terror was a transformational video for that agency. John Beck did it. I rode with him up to Death Valley where we trudged around for a few god-awful days learning about Mars and what Curiosity is going to be looking at, and I had never spent that much time going up vertical rock cliffs, so that was exciting. But anyway, it was a real challenge to get that video made because basically you've got this filmmaker going to who worked for NASA. I mean, he was an employee at JPL saying, "Hey, I'm going to make this really exciting high drama video that says how many ways we can screw this up and fail," and management's going, "I'm sorry, what did you just say?" So it was a bit of a struggle. But it was the most successful media piece, I believe, that they've ever done. And they learned a lot from that. And now there's a whole lot of stuff they do that looks like that. And I think there should be more of that. But I think the ultimate solution is that the taxpayers should be paying us non-NASA communicators six figures to be doing this writing. Does that sound good to anybody but me?
I mean, as long as I can get in on that racket, I'm happy with it.
Wait. Oh, Bailey, I see what you're saying there. I was like, I thought you meant that you had something to say. Now I get where you're going with that. Newton, I think you were going to chime in.
No, I was just saying as long as I can get in on the six-figure racket. No, I do agree that JPL has done an absolutely fantastic job. When Perseverance was landing, one of the things that I was doing was sitting in the room, the operations control room, with them from my apartment here in DC because they had VR preps to do so. Like that, like even those things require very, very, very tiny bits of investment. That is a very simple thing to do technologically. But someone
a lot of talent.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it takes talent, but but it's a fairly simple thing to do technologically. But someone took the time to give that some thought and remembered also that NASA's mission is to inform the public, and that's exactly what they were doing when they brought that about. I would love to see that at some of the other agencies. JPL does have a slightly easier job because they're doing all the robotics stuff, right? It's very easy to communicate robotics, but it's hard to communicate, for instance, that.
Well, I mean, at least they're not front kicking the Perseverance rover like they're doing in Boston Dynamics.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
That's going to cause the Terminator. They're going to wake up here eventually and be like, you remember that group? Like the smartest people in the world made the first robots and then kicked them and closed the door on them and did mean things to them. That's not inherently human. That's how you get Ultron. That's how you get Terminator. I'm just.
Every time I'm at work, I utter the words. I, for one, welcome our new robot overlords. But no, I think that pushing some of the other elements of NASA, from astrophysics to even especially the earth sciences, which is probably the closest thing to my heart, because Earth is my favorite planet. I think that we need folks that push and are attempting to think of new and different ways to think about some of that, as opposed to just some of the flashier stuff at JPL, right? Like, starting to think about, how do you communicate that NASA should be repurposing its satellites to look at coral, because coral is going to be dying off in the next 30 years, right? How do you start to communicate some of these more things that are banal but are super significant to NASA's overall mission? That's something I would love to see more. That's one of the reasons I want to see more and more creative people being involved in that, because I don't know how to do that. I don't know if anyone on this call knows how to do that, but I'm sure someone out there does. Someone is creative enough, and we should be nurturing that creativity as much as possible. This is my nurturing the arts push.
This is what we need to do in the arts. And just real quick, Rod was typing away, so I think Rod right now is writing. This is how he does this. Rod is right now writing an article for Ad Astra. I think that there's no way that he has the time to write 4 books a year and also be the editor-in-chief for Ad Astra. So that's what he's going to do. He's like, I'm not talking right now. Let me write a couple sentences. This is a great idea for an article.
Well, actually, I was sending you a message just noting that as much as we love all this stuff, Barstow, California is still better than anywhere else in the solar system. I mean, we need to take care of this planet. It's so tempting.
Can you tell me where Barstow is?
It's halfway between LA and Las Vegas in the California high desert. And the prettiest part of it is, as you're driving up the Highway 15, the hills are glistening because of all the decades of guys out there with shotguns shooting glass bottles. So it's not exactly Eden, but it's still better than. I would love to go to Mars. I would love to visit the moon, but in terms of living in those places, I think we got a lot of living to do on Earth yet before we. I think it's good for us to send settlements there and have people living there doing research and so forth. But in terms of running away from Earth because of population density, it's a more complicated argument. But let's take care of this planet. So I'm with Newton on that. I think it is good to see NASA turning some more of its effort back on Earth science. There was a time during the last administration, and Newton, you probably remember this, when the first budget was coming around, the previous administration was canceling an Earth science instrument that was already on the space station, already operational, that had a $1.8 million per year budget, not billion, million with an M. Yep. And they wanted to shut that down. And I wondered at the time how many days of golf that was at Mar-a-Lago. And as it turns out, it's about 2.5 or 3.
Funny enough, we talked about that on my old podcast at Astra. Just FYI.
Interesting. Yes. There was an Ad Astra.
Somebody 35 or 40 years ago, when von Braun formed the first half of the NSS, which is the National Space Institute, he really should have trademarked that.
He really should have.
Oh, well. And then that god-awful movie came out and just blew the whole thing apart.
I know. We should have collectively sued them.
Okay, Ron, don't go there. It's 3 hours of crossing the solar system to deal with daddy issues.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, my God. Wait. As somebody that has never and will probably never meet his father, and I'm sure there is some piece to me in everything that I do to be like, well, screw him. I'm going to go do everything and be awesome at it. So yeah, Dad, suck it. I would probably go all the way across the solar system to Saturn to be like, Dad, look what I did.
I'll buy that.
Every single one of my Christmas and
while you're stowing away on the rocket to Mars, how do you accidentally kill the whole crew? It was as if, the gun went off. Oh crap, I shot him too. Oh by golly. And I thought, how does this even happen? He gets out there and he's got his wings of steel,
hold on.
So he can go.
If you haven't watched the movie yet, spoiler alert. Rod, go ahead.
Oh, God. Well, there's no spoiler alert. The movie was spoiled before it started. And by the way,
Brad Pitt kills everyone by accident.
Is Brad Pitt watching this right now? Is Brad on?
Is Brad on?
I'm
Brad,
sure
Okay,
Brad's
no,
on.
okay.
Brad, you wanna
oh,
go
if
on?
only. If
Do you
heard-
want to
only.
defend your movie?
He heard Bailey was coming on, and he went, "All right, I got to hop on this episode."
Just real quick though, this is funny because somebody said Rick and Morty, and honestly, it's more like a Rick and Morty episode than it is a hard science
Yeah.
fiction movie.
Yes.
It just gets it's so beautiful though. They did a great job of really
Beautiful.
nailing what
Yeah.
the solar system
Yeah.
looked like. It's gorgeous, but if you're still awake when you get to Jupiter and you see it, like, wow, Jupiter's so back to sleep again. Hopefully,
Well,
you didn't go to one of the theaters that served you food, or you're out in the first 10 minutes. It's nap time. Just
okay,
a
while we're
$100
whining about that one, so I go on WGN about once a month
Gravity.
at Chicago station. No, Gravity I kind of dug. There were some problems.
Same.
You know, the invisible force that kept pulling on George Clooney and yanked him away. It was anti-love.
It was
or
more
something.
art
And
than it
the
was space.
invisible force that kept her hair down. Let's be
Yeah,
honest.
Until
but
one point, until she's like floating upside down in like in the fetal position where it's like her being reborn and everything, and then her hair floats. Like it's weird, but I think that's also, if you've seen his other movies, he wasn't trying for a hard sci-fi movie. He's trying to go with like the internal struggles and the beauty of life and rebirth and blah blah blah. I'm not saying blah blah blah. It's very important.
you
That's
talking
why-
about Gravity?
I'm talking about Gravity. Yeah.
No, he was going for Sandra Bullock. What are you talking about? That's what got half the people to go there. But, so
I
I'm
want
on,
to go with the deeper parts.
I'm on WGN. I don't think there were a lot of deeper parts. I go on WGN and I have this argument with the host there that's no longer there, Nick DiGilio. Every time, all I have to say is Independence Day, and he would go nuts. Oh, worst movie ever, piece of crap, blah, 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 blah. And I mean, it was classic science fiction tropes,
Careful.
repurposed in a new way. Now, his favorite was Interstellar, which I loathed because it was 3.5 hours of love conquers all with Matthew McConaughey strutting around doing his Lincoln Mercury thing. And I know there are a lot of fans in that movie, but I watched it twice. I sat there and thought, it's the longest 3.5 hours of my life.
It's how you
watching
three.
this
I
film.
like how every movie gets an extra hour with you. Ad Astra wasn't 3.5 hours. That wasn't 3.5 hours. You know what was
Okay.
almost 3 hours was Armageddon. Funny enough,
It
and I
felt,
loved
I
Armageddon.
didn't like that either, but it felt like 3.5 hours.
I love
Hey,
Armageddon.
let's not have the astronauts learn how to drill. Let's have the drillers learn how to astronaut.
And then, by the way, we'll
There's
throw some
no
nukes
way.
at it while we're at it.
throw some nukes at it. That'll work.
That'll
With
work.
the nukes, you got to blow it up because that's never went wrong in every sci-fi movie. They
I-
nuke everything.
we should
Independence
spend
Day. Yeah.
We should spend 2 hours just talking about everything that was wrong at Armageddon.
Ooh, can we need to do an episode where we go over like all the popular movies from the last 20-25 years
Yes.
and take on
I'd
all
be
the
down
stuff.
for that.
That would be
And
funny.
at that
Yeah.
point, we will notice how much Starship looks just like Rocket Ship XM from 1950. They are virtually indistinguishable side by side.
He
It
probably
is
did that on
almost
purpose.
creepy. So who's
Honestly.
seen Voyager so far?
But say what?
Who's the movie Voyagers, the new one with all the beautiful young people?
Oh
heading
no, I
out?
haven't
No.
seen it yet. No. I was planning on watching the new one on Netflix. That's actually got Bailey's twin in it. Oh my god, I'm blanking on her name.
Anna
right now.
Kendrick.
Anna Kendrick. Yes, you're.
I watched about half of it. I'll give you the premise was that they're going to Mars, right?
Mhm.
And like
They have
within
Stowaway. Stowaway is the name of
Yeah.
it. Which is
Yeah.
weird because the away part of it, I thought maybe it was a movie that came off the show because the A looks very similar to the A
Yeah,
from that
but
one. It's not.
not.
Yeah, it's not.
I honestly, because I ended up falling asleep, so don't tell Anna Kendrick that. But I was watching it last night, and it's an inch. I want to see how they end it. It's kind of more of that kind of feel good movie, I guess. But essentially, it's like, yeah, this guy was working on their capsule before it took off, and he got stuck and hurt, and now he's just suddenly the fourth crew member to Mars. And I was just like, how did this happen? Like, how did this actually happen?
And they give it such, like, the preview that I watched for it feels like it gives away the whole movie. Well, first, there's enough oxygen for only 3 people, I think, anyway.
Yeah, and food, right?
And then something happens and goes wrong, and then it drops down to only 3 people can survive. But that's like the first 20 seconds of a minute and a half preview where they can continue to show you everything that went wrong. It was like Terminator Genesis. How are you going to give the biggest reveal in the movie away in the trailer? That's the whole. If you told everybody that Bruce Willis was dead at the end of that movie, The Sixth Sense, nobody would have. Why? That would have taken the whole point out of it. Like all the drama goes away. Like dude's dead. And that would have been that. It was just really weird how they chose to put that in this preview too. Here's everything that's going to happen. Well, now I don't know that I need to watch it.
Also bringing it back to Moxie.
My man, I like that. That's the segue. That's a segue.
Like 3 or 4, like we could just make the oxygen there. Like what's the all right?
Okay, so I'm talking to a younger generation than me here. You guys probably grew up seeing movies like Space Camp, right? You remember Space Camp?
Space Camp was before me.
Yeah.
Space Shuttle. So talk about stowaways. Space Shuttle takes off by accident with a bunch of space cappers on it who were on tour inside the shuttle, and then something goes wrong, and oh my God, one of the solids lit. Well, we'll have to launch the thing anyway. I mean, it was horrific, and yet that was a movie that defined a piece of a generation of thinkers. So yeah, that one would have to be high on the list of ickies, I think.
Ooh, Space Cowboys. No, he's like, but it's so many of my favorite actors.
No, the problem is I didn't see it till I was older, and I'm looking at those guys and I'm thinking a couple of them might be younger than I am now. So I have to give them a certain amount of credibility. I mean, my master's degree was probably turning to dust by the time most of you guys got yours. But yeah, it just under-delivered, didn't it? It had a good build-up, and then it didn't really pay off.
It felt like it was gonna. I felt like a little bit of an homage to Glenn. Like after he had gone back up again. Well, we're not saying that you can't, but no, they're well into their 70s. Last I checked, you're not in your 70s yet.
No, not even close.
That's what I'm saying. I'm like, yeah, I think they're well, like 70s, deep into their 70s, if not like almost 80. That's the reason why one of them, I think, just gets sick and dies on the mission. There's a lot of. It's just if you have a night and it's Sunday and you're bored and there's nothing else on, put it on. There's some cute moments in it.
But there are moments like these guys saying, do your hemorrhoids bother you when you're in the simulator, this kind of stuff. And it's like, come on, really, you guys? I mean, this is the premise of this movie.
But a bunch of old white guys would definitely be saying that to each other if they were just hanging out, being all cantankerous. I mean, then you've got Jesse. I'm just going to be mad about the fact he's going back to space again. Why'd you wake me up for this? I was taking a nap. I was going to shoot somebody on my lawn.
Right.
Like, why? I just didn't see the point in it myself. So that's just me. But so Mac is mentioning there's the astronaut farmer. I personally loved Independence Day because I was I should have been a high school graduate that year. It came out like right after like all that nonsense had gone on, and I just loved it. It was everybody that I loved was in it. The Aerosmith soundtrack. There was so much to it. I watch it now and it's hysterical. Although the effects have surprisingly held up. They really do look really good. There's a few movies from the 90s that you're shocked. If you haven't seen Starship Troopers, I know, on Blu-ray or on a big screen, you will be shocked how good it looks. It looks but it's supposed to be.
If you're only paying attention to the effects, yes. If you happen to like Story, or if you ever read the original book, which is about politics, and you're watching. So explain to me. I'm sorry, this is a bit of a diversion, but you guys are all science people, right?
We really did. We just
we have not diverted at all. I have
explain to me
what you expected.
In the future, this culture that developed atomic weapons in the 40s and 50s goes to a planet with basically evolved M16s and can't kill a bunch of spiders. I mean, how does that even happen? And not just the stupidity of shooting at them.
Really, really giant spiders.
Okay, we all saw Aliens, right? Take it off, nuke it from orbit. It's the only way to be sure. Why would you go down there and shoot at these things with slug throwers? Oh, I got one. Oh, there's 1,000,004 over there. Ooh, I'm going to scare them off with bad words and body odor. I mean, it just made no sense to me at all. I couldn't figure it out.
Nuke from orbit is our standard backup plan.
We can go with War of the Worlds, where like
doesn't
something
land,
just gets over.
Nuke it from orbit.
Yeah,
let's go with Signs. Signs. They come to a planet with nothing, with its water everywhere.
Kate,
I want to hear your thoughts. Anything in particular that like space movie that just drives you nuts whenever you see it, or one that you love despite? Like my movie that is my number one like guilty pleasure is The Core. It may not be space, but it's close enough because they have to get astronauts. But I love that movie and everybody in that movie. But what I love about it is everybody in that movie since then has gone on to make crazy, amazing work. Like 90% of the cast has been up for one.
That's because any other movie was better than The Core.
I know. I watch every time I watch it. I love it. But Kate, is there one that you have?
There's not a particular movie that comes to mind, but I'm a big Star Trek fan. I feel like it's Star Wars or Star Trek, and I've always been a Star Trek fan. So I've seen like all of the original Star Trek, and then the Next Generation Star Trek, and then all of the Voyager, and it's just something that I've absolutely loved throughout the years. And even though it's not scientific in a lot of ways, and it's not really factual, it's that storytelling aspect of it that I just love.
It's the beautiful future that it foresees for us, though. And what I love is there's all the people that I know, like, man, Star Trek's so awesome, I love it. And then you start talking about the ideals of Star Trek, be like, that's not America. Well, if you might want to go back and watch Star Trek again, if you wanted that's the future you want. Not gonna go, just throwing it out there. But I love that you mentioned that one. So I have a question: are you watching any of the new Star Trek stuff? And do you like the new Star Trek stuff? Because a lot of people have split off. Like, I love Lower Decks. I think it's very funny. I think it's hysterical. But a lot of people are just like, I don't know how I feel about a cartoon. It's like the lesser people on board, just what they do with it. Like, that's not Star Trek, man.
I will say, like, I haven't seen it. But Galaxy Quest was what movie I was going to tell you that I absolutely love. Like, I could watch that over and over and over again. And that's kind of like a farce, you know, of like that Star Trek. And so I'm interested. I would love to watch Lower Decks. I think it would be really great. I haven't seen it yet. So and if you have any suggestions for similar kind of stuff, you know, definitely tell me, because I'm here for it.
Well, you can borrow my Paramount Plus login because I've not used it. I've been paying for it for the last 5 months since Lower Decks.
Oh my God, I forgot that was a service.
Yeah, well, it was.
Yeah.
Well, it's new. They just switched over to Paramount Plus, but it was the CBS All Access, right?
Yeah.
And so they moved it over. So now, but that's cool because I actually looked at it the other day, and so now the Mission Impossible movies are on there, and there's a lot of stuff that Paramount has. So they are putting that stuff on there. It will be viable once they get a few more things going, but basically you only need it for about a month, so that way you can watch enough of Discovery to see if you're interested in Discovery or not. Lower Decks is 1 season, Picard is 1 season, and most of the Star Trek movies are also on Amazon Prime because that's where I watched all of them, especially for First Contact on First Contact Day. How can you not do that? Also, this is what I think we should do. If everybody's going to do a May the 4th party, why aren't we not doing First Contact parties yet? And I want to start doing that. Yeah, so I want to do that for our maybe Space After Dark stuff that we have at Space Foundation, but I think it'd be awesome. And I kind of thought about it. I'm like, man, we do May 4th every year. We do like 2 things for Star Wars. Why aren't we doing anything for Star Trek? We were going to do a debate last year, but everything shut down. And we were going to do the Great Debate in September as a joke, and then be like the Great Debate, and then it was going to be like the Star Trek versus Star Wars. And then that was going to be the conversation we had with people that were from both areas of it, lovingly. And then also we were going to hire security just in case, because you give nerds some alcohol and let them get into that, and things can happen. Like, if you don't think that they won't a fist won't stop right at a face for something between Star Trek and Star Wars, you're wrong.
I mean, it's 2 very different like universes, right? It's 2 very different, two very different concepts, right? One is imagining a future that, you know, and talking about ideals, right, that may be captured in that future.
And one is the whiniest family in the entire universe.
The other one's a silly space opera.
Why did they give so much? Why did so much power in the whiniest, brattiest people?
I was just going to say it's the whiniest fan base in the universe. It's the worst. It's literally the worst.
One beget the other, though. One definitely beget the other. I mean, if the heroes are going to be whiny little brats.
If we have to talk about the camps, I'm a Star Wars fan. It's categorically the worst fan base. I've never seen a fan base hate their own product as much as I have seen the Star Wars fan base.
So on the opposite, I think the other one in there is Rick and Morty. I've never seen a show that's hated its fan base so much because it's just so toxic and terrible. They're like,
oh, absolutely.
Why are you idolizing these people? That is not the point of this show. That is the opposite of the point of this show.
Yeah, well, I would say again, as a fan of Rick and Morty, the fan base is terrible. The show's fantastic, right? But like when it comes to Star Wars, it's just nonstop hatred for the thing that people claim to be a fan of. It's a little absurd.
Oh, look, here's a woman in the lead, and here's a person of color that's the like right up there with her, and there's this awesome Asian person. Let's drive almost all of them off social media because we don't think that that's where the series should have went.
Also, The Last Jedi, best Star Wars movie.
Yes,
I said it.
Yes, We both went there. I loved it. But okay, here's the thing. Here's the thing for me, and I didn't mean for us to get into movies and sci-fi and all this stuff, but I love that we kind of went there.
Yes.
I adore that, and the whole thing is like, listen, if you've never seen the rest of the movies that he made, you should have known when they hired him what he was going to make. I did, and I was stoked for him. Like, this is going to be, there's going to be some mad people about this because that's not somebody you hire. Ryan doesn't make movies that are obvious. It's like he's not JJ. Yeah, he's gonna turn everything on its ear here. Everything's gonna be different. And the very first thing was lightsaber of the throne. I'm like, yes, I love this. He's a bitter old man.
I was mentoring an intern. Like this week, and there was something that that she did that I was super proud of her for, and I like sent it up to like my my bosses, and one of the things that one of the gifts that I sent up to my bosses was that's the burden of all masters. We are what they grow beyond. I'm like, it's just such a beautiful, there were a number of beautiful lines in that movie. Like, and I just don't understand the hatred for it. Like,
okay. Can I just cite one possible reason? So I don't know if it was the same installment or not, but I'm watching one of these movies, and I hadn't seen one since Revenge of the Jedi, because once I got done watching those freaking teddy bears for 2 hours.
So that's Return of the Jedi.
Return of the Jedi. I thought, okay, this is clearly a marketing scam.
Bailey's
one of the recent ones. Closing your ears. One of the recent ones, I see what's left of Harrison Ford going in for a kiss with what's left of Carrie Fisher, and it's like, I can't watch this. This is just too creepy. This is way too much like looking at my parrots while they're hacking, and it was just, so I was done there. I will say I worked on in effects on Deep Space Nine for 3 years, and just in reference to the whole Star Trek universe ethos, peace, Jesus, and Bobby Fischer and all that stuff. It's going to be a great life out there. Our ratings, we suddenly started getting all these script orders for heavy effects packages. It was all warfare, and we couldn't, these weren't ray guns. These were emitters because Gene didn't like, combat. But it turned out that the ratings would practically double every time they got into war. So I think it's a very telling thing that while Star Trek has inspired generations of people with this idea of this somewhat utopian, balanced, cashless society, which we all love and would love to see happen in space, what really kicked the tires and light the fires for the viewers was, they're going to go shoot up a bunch of Cardassians tonight? Yeah, I'm tuning in. So it's interesting.
Well, I mean, let's look at what is the longest, most boring Star Trek movie, the first one, which tried to be, I don't know, was it trying to be 2001? Listen,
I thought good
science
fiction by Alan Dean Foster. That's what it was.
So, how many more scenes? I mean, that's the whole point. Like the very beginning, where if Spaceballs, where they show the long, drawn-out sequence. That is not against Star Wars. That's against Star Trek, because they do so many slow moving through the fog. And it's like 10. There was one point where I got up when it started. I went to pee. I got more snacks. I came back, and I shit you not, it was still playing. Nothing happened. Not a word.
You weren't even born then.
No, it was in theaters again. So, when they were doing like all the re-releases, they just had the big anniversary of it. So it was in a local theater.
Okay, so I'll grant you. There was an awful lot of time spent on Mr. Zulu going as I'm going through V'ger, but V'ger was pretty brilliant. As a science fiction story, I think it would have been pretty good. I mean, the idea of V'ger was cool. The idea of, questioning the nature of mankind and omnipotence and all, it was pretty cool. It was just Robert Wise, as much as he was a brilliant filmmaker, was the wrong guy to direct that. Star Trek 2, however, was pretty
it wasn't even the same. It's not even the same idea, which is great. I mean, I love the fact that they've jumped around a lot, and there was a lot of those. Recently I rewatched most of them, so there's a lot of different areas in this.
You didn't rewatch 5, did you?
No. Well, okay. I haven't watched most of the original ones, but I kind of jumped in from like generations on. So, Bailey, are you a Trek fan? Or have you watched Are you a both? Was that a? I'm not seeing any sort of movement there. There's not like an up or down. She's like, I don't know.
This is a very scary place to be right now. I don't know which side I want to be in.
I'm on both sides, honestly.
I'm on both.
Like one side or the other.
I grew up with Star Wars, so I kind of shifted into that. I've seen Star Trek. I've never actually really gotten into it to where I can like actively say one way or another. So, okay, after I graduate, maybe that's on the list of things I need to do, because I think it'd be really cool. But I grew up with Star Wars, and the one thing I did want to say about that was kind of what you guys are talking now with Star Trek. I wasn't drawn to the space stuff in Star Wars. I was drawn to the underdog story of just understanding, we have to do this together, good and bad, like that kind of story. That's what I really enjoyed out of it. And it sounds like Star Trek has a lot of that as well. So I think that's where I kind of am interested in.
So I want to go with, where did the white guy with all the powers so it's the family, and they've all got the powers. Where's the underdog in that one? Because like, he's the chosen one, isn't he? Or both of them are the chosen one? Or is Luke the chosen one? Or is Dad the chosen one? I honestly think that Leia was the chosen one. It turned out she was the only one.
This is why Last Jedi was the best movie.
Because
they did away with all of that. And then they brought it right back in the next movie.
They completely straight.
Yes.
I love the fact that everybody's, okay, why is this character back in I don't even remember what the name of it was now, because I didn't like it at all.
No, I blocked it out.
Well, yeah, so I went and I watched it, and I'm just shocked by it. And there's just, Palpatine's back. I'm like, oh, that could be cool. I wonder how JJ's going to bring that one back in. And then just in the first few minutes, he's just back. That's just the way it is. He's just there. What? There's no explanation to this? It was enough movie for three of them. It's like JJ was so focused on trying to redo, bring everything back to where it was. He was going to take it, that it was just 3.5 hours of them just like walking everything back. So it was tough for me after The Last Jedi, and then I knew Colin Trevorrow was originally going to be the guy that was going to do the third one. And I am not happy at all where Jurassic Park has gone. That's an entire 2-hour show that I could do by myself. Yeah. Like, favorite books as a kid made me want to be a scientist, made me want to be a paleontologist. So yeah. So this was a show about space tonight. In case you didn't know, we've not really talked too much about space in the last hour of the show.
Yeah, I see Kate down there looking at us like, get a room, guys. With the Star Trek stuff.
Kate's a fan, though. Kate's a fan. So before we
did she bring up Star Trek?
Oh, maybe so. Yeah.
You caused this.
This is all you. We had to go in a nerd one, and we haven't done a nerd show yet. So I'm kind of happy it just randomly happened. It's always great when it does, but. We only got about 12 minutes left, so that gives everybody a few minutes to kind of talk about the stuff that they're up to, where people can find them on social media, and also anything that you might have coming up soon, like the Analog Astronaut event that we've got coming up next week, Bailey. So, Bailey, I'll go to you first, and then we'll go around in order to wrap up the evening.
I need to check my calendar now, because I don't remember what I have coming up. Right now, I'm focused on graduation, so once that happens, I've got some stuff in the works for post-graduation. I guess in general, you can find me at Engineer Girl. You can see it. Wait, over there. There we go. Right there. I'm on social media, and really my biggest thing is just getting everyone to reach out and do things together, specifically space things. So I'm always happy to connect with people. I've got Rubik's Cube things happening coming up, so stay tuned for that. And I think, there we go. Sorry, it wasn't solved. I had to solve it real quick. And then I think the other big thing coming up is Space Kind with Loretta Whitesides. That's starting on May the 4th. So if you're interested in that kind of work, it's coming up soon as well, which will be really exciting. I'll be part of that. Yeah, I guess all sorts of space stuff that you just got to stay updated, because I keep doing more space stuff. I guess we'll find out what's next.
Fantastic, and I want to second that on Space Kind. I was part of the first class last year, right after everything went crazy. Sam Proctor was a part of it. There's so many amazing people that were a part of that group, and everyone since then. I've not been able to do it since, because she kind of moved some times around to be more inclusive of different time zones and people from all around the world. We would have people that were up at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning to be a part of this, because they were in Morocco or they were in a European country. I mean, it's incredible the people that, no pun intended, Loretta brings into her orbit. So if you've not done it, well, and Mac's already signed up for it. So Mac McCauley will be a part of it. You want to hear more about Borderless Labs? There you go. So yeah, I definitely highly recommend that. Anything Loretta does, I'm totally on board for that one. So Newton, let's go to you next, sir. Sir Newton, as it were. We have officially dubbed you Sir Newton 2.0 tonight. Somebody in the comments did.
Well, coming up, you can catch me traveling to any country that will allow Americans because I am fully vaccinated now. So I am happy to just move. Yeah, just
Get out. Get out of here.
Anywhere after being trapped in my apartment for the last year and some change. Let's see. So I'm not. I don't have too many public social media feeds. So sorry, you guys can't find me on that. I tend to try to make my public things public and my private things private. I will be at the American Astronautical Society's Robert H. Goddard Memorial Symposium on May 5th, talking about all of the data and AI issues that are going on within NASA. We have a big panel that's coming up on that.
Is that virtual or in person?
That's virtual.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
The in-person stuff is starting, but like most of them have been in June. So
not in the science community.
Yeah.
Like it's just not. Yeah. Like you're not going to see in-person space and NASA things for a very long time. But that symposium is coming up.
Space Symposium's in August. Just saying.
Well, that's a flip of a coin as to whether or not that'll be in person.
Oh no, it's gonna be. I work for the company. We're doing it in person. Oh yeah. We've got the okay for it. Now it will only be like 5,000 people instead of 20,000 people.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're definitely doing it.
Okay. Well, that'll be interesting. That'll be interesting to see how stuff like flows back to in person. But yeah, the Goddard Symposium is going to be virtual. It's going to be fantastic. There's going to be a number of different folks there from all of the different NASA sites. So definitely check it out if you get a chance. Other than that, just keep an eye out on Google alerts and things like that. I do have some big announcements coming up that I can't quite announce just yet.
Big booking.
Yeah, but for things that I'm going to be for groups that I'm going to be publishing with coming up soon. So yeah.
Excellent, man. Excellent. Well, is there a way that people can get a hold of you for doing any STEM outreach, anything where they can, if they wanted to reach out to you for you to talk to students, even virtually, anything like that?
Talking to students again, just keeping a Google alert out. You can message me on LinkedIn. I mean, that's probably the best, the absolute best way to do it. Just search me on LinkedIn.
That's how Newton and I met, was LinkedIn. So it works.
LinkedIn is a way to go. That's for sure. Rod Pyle, aka He-Man, aka Master of the Universe. Let's go to you.
So
the reimagining.
My website is pylebooks.com. Like I said, the magazine's soon going to be all over the place, so that's easy to find. I have a regular Sunday slot on a radio show called The Tech Guy now, which is Leo Laporte talking about computers and stuff. It's national. They got to look up local listings. I'm going to be on the Space Show with David Livingston, for those of you who know about that, next week. And I do WGN in Chicago about once a month. And I am putting together with Aggie Coburn and a small team of people the ISDC, again, for the National Space Society. That's the International Space Development Conference, which is normally in person. But of course, because of what's been chasing us all around, we're going to be virtual this year. So that'll be in late June. And that'll be 3 days of probably 5 to 7 hours a day of virtual presentations and so forth. And I'm working on a new book that I can't say anything about.
What?
I love all.
He's working on a book? That doesn't sound like him. That's weird.
Rod's writing a book. That's crazy. Is this your first one? Are you excited about it?
Yeah, actually I am, because it's been a while. I did, as you know, I had a whole bunch come out in 2019, 4 of them. And then 2020, like everybody else, the year was turned upside down and speaking gigs went away and everything shifted. So I'm trying to get another one together. But this time I've decided to write it without a commission, because I always work with traditional publishers. And they're great publishers. It's just you often get, you sign the contract in October and they say, oh, can you have it done by Christmas? You're going, no, I don't think I can. So I'm going to write most of it first and then shop it around. So
nice. Not a bad idea. That's crazy. I don't know how on earth you would write one in 2 months. Like, I guess I could if I knew the process.
You don't sleep.
You just don't sleep. Yeah, for real. You just stay up forever. Wow, that's a lot of work, man. Congratulations. Can't wait to see what it is, and let us know whenever the stuff is coming up for ISDC. Be happy to share that out on all the platforms. So
fantastic. Thank you.
Kate, we'll go to you next. Other than being like super awesome momage, what else are you doing?
Well, I'm finishing up my scuba certification. I should be done tomorrow. And so I'm doing that, and I've been
Nice.
doing a lot of self work. So I've been working on that pilot's license and everything too. So I don't have any talks or anything signed up for, but I'm planning on attending everyone's talks and everyone's things. So I'm really excited about doing that. And then once I get like settled here and I get these certifications, you know, completed, and I'm able to like jump in some other arenas, I'll be jumping in then too. So my handle's Kate Bomb almost across everything. You can find me with it. So yeah. What about you, Ron? What do you got coming up?
Well, I love the way that you're just slyly sneaking in and you're getting scuba. You get your
It's like
pilot's license.
Buckaroo Banzai, you know.
Well, yeah, not only that, but it's like, is
Animal
Kate going to
brain
try
surgery.
and become an astronaut? Because there's some of the things you need. Like, I'm going to go back to school, and I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do that. I'm like, did Kate just choose to be like? Did she just basically tell everyone she's going to go be an astronaut now?
I mean, it's more like, are you going to be an astronaut or James Bond? I'm taking scuba lessons, I'm taking pilot lessons, I'm learning how to ride a motorcycle like an insane person. Like,
Here in a minute, Newton's going to get a message about. Actually, the entire top row is going to get a message from Kate about how she can learn martial arts from all of us.
right?
Yeah, we got you. We'll get you trained up.
That's amazing. So thank you, Kate, for throwing it back to me. I don't sleep a whole lot. I actually have now 8 major things that are coming up. So it's going to be a very, very busy few months for me. The next big one will be Mars. If we just launched it for Explore Mars, it will be, I think we're looking at 3 days now. It's the Mars Innovation Forum. So it will be different from what we do at the Humans to Mars Summit. It will basically say, here's the story of what it looks like on Mars in 10 years. What are the things we need between now and then to make sure that that is going to be a reality? And so we're going to jump everything around from human health systems. Maybe Bailey's going to be on that one. I don't know. We're still putting all that stuff together. It's really going to cover pretty much everything. Different types of foods, how we're going to eat, what we're going to do about it, the technologies it's going to take. So that's coming up. As I mentioned earlier, Space Symposium, we are doing a 365 virtual version of it that goes all year round. But we've been doing really well in Colorado. It looks like with the massive size of the Broadmoor, where you're going to be in person, there will be more details soon. But right now we're looking at the very last week of August. So it'll be, I think we're cutting it down to, I don't think we're going to have a 4 days event. I think we might do 3, but we're still working all that out. But we're excited, hopefully, to get people back in and then do the whole thing and maybe be mostly at capacity in a year from now. So fingers crossed for that. And then there's always some other stuff that's going on. So follow me on all my channels. Facebook is probably the best one. I am The Space Dude everywhere. That's why it's down there. So The Space Dude is my personal Facebook page, but I tell all the biggest announcements and stuff there because it allows me big bodies of text. And if you couldn't tell, I like to talk. I'm better at it when I write, so that way you can read it at your own speed. You don't have to go back and slow it down to hear everything that I said. So there's lots of really cool stuff coming up. Thank you, everybody, tonight for joining us. It was a great group. Lots of laughs. It's been a while since we had this much laughing during the show. And completely random. Rod even said something about it before we did this in the comments, like, no specific topics. We're in trouble. And it just went completely off the rails. And I think those are the best shows. I want to thank everybody. I don't have a lineup next for next week because I'm going to be in Boca Chica for the majority of the week, and then that Saturday is the Analog Astronaut contest, or not contest. I'm sorry, the conference. So I don't know after doing an entire day of producing an event that I will be up for a show. So maybe 2 weeks, but we will definitely be back. So thank you everyone for joining tonight, and I appreciate my guests, and we will see you all in the very near future.
Thank you, Ron.
Bye, everyone. Thank you
Real
so
pleasure.
much.
Bye.
Bye-bye.